know, I have I have a real issue with the idea of cancel culture. The idea that that cancel culture has, I think it's accorded more power than it really has, and I think it's. And I say this as someone who literally, because what you just mentioned, literally did a sketch on the rebooted Mr. Show with Bob and David for Netflix.
Oh, I loved it.
Thanks.
So you guys did a.
Do you know they took? So we did a sketch where my character gets in blackface.
Let me be very clear with you. What you just heard is the single most absurd statement made on a podcast this year. David Cross, a comedian who was literally canceled by Netflix, sat across from Bill Maher and tried to argue that cancel culture is overhyped. And now, I want you to understand, this was not a debate. This was a man defending the very system that came for his own work.
In several ways, Netflix didn't just take that sketch out, they took the entire episode off the air. And that's being canceled.
Yeah, that is canceled.
Literally.
I mean, people sometimes want to say cancel. Oh, people aren't canceled because they're still doing this or that. There are different
Now hold on. David Cross just admitted, in his own words, that Netflix pulled an entire episode of his show off the air over one sketch. An entire episode. Erased. And in the same breath, he wants you to believe cancel culture is accorded more power than it really has. Hear me out on this one. That is not a contradiction. That is a confession.
Being canceled.
Yeah, that is canceled.
Literally.
I mean, people sometimes want to say cancel. Oh, people aren't canceled because they're still doing this or that. There are different gradations of it. There's soft canceling. I would say I've had some of that happen to me.
Like what?
Soft canceling would be like, we will never give you an Emmy, even though plainly I deserved them.
No, Bill.
And no, you don't think I've ever? You don't think my show?
I don't know what the categories or the context or any of that.
You don't watch. You don't watch that shit.
I don't. I really don't, and I don't. I haven't watched an award show.
And this is where Maher took the wheel. He laid out the categories. Sako foesha soha censor, yerden soft canceling. Farcher wiko den. Yosa to and named hard canceling. The Emmy that never comes. The studio that never returns the call. In his view, this is not paranoia. This is a documented pattern doing real damage. Insadas over fedisten, your sensinen proverditor, and the only people pretending it does not exist are the people doing the canceling.
We will never, and usually that's, for good reason. I mean, there's a good reason that, a lot of the original wave of Me Too guys, Matt Lauer sounds like he was a pig.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, like the Charlie Rose. You'll never see these people, you're out to dinner even. You can't even go to a restaurant when you're that canceled. But yeah, there's different, I mean, some people like Louis C.K. can certainly play anywhere in the world and sell out big stadium, theaters, whatever, auditoriums for his stand-up fans, but much harder to get a studio, to do a movie,
Yeah.
That's a kind of cancellation. Woody Allen, they won't work with him anymore, even though I think that's a bogus.
Let me put it to you straight. Maher just named names on tape. Isafri's creator, Liders Lauer. Rose? Insel or Cell Sarzar, Furrows do at a CK. What is so there? Kroer O. Allen. He drew the line between justified cancellation and bogus charges without flinching. Because to Maher, the problem is that the same machinery taking down actual predators is also being used to take down comedians for sketches. That is not justice. And that is a blunt instrument swinging in every direction.
George.
I don't know. I just think we need a new term that's not so definitive. I mean, but for you to say there's soft canceling and hard canceling, to me that means we need some new language for it.
Hit me.
And watch what Cross does here. Instead of engaging with the substance, he tries to negotiate the vocabulary. He wants new language. He wants softer terms. That is exactly the playbook. When you cannot deny the thing is happening, you complain about what people are calling it. Maher did not bite.
It wasn't supporting it, but but then things changed, and they decided, no, you can't even do it in support of the idea. And okay, I'm fine with that. I shouldn't get to vote on what it is, but it is a big change. And again, liberal people, you don't have to go that far back when we were all acting differently. And my thing is just if you did something that was 20 years later, they go, oh my God, how dare you? But at the time, no one else gave a shit. You did the sketch, you did whatever, and there was no comment. Then you have to cancel everybody from 20 years ago because everybody just let it.
Now let me tell you something important. This is the part nobody on the left wants to talk about. The retroactive application, going back through 20 years of footage looking for a single frame to use against somebody. The standards keep moving. The line keeps shifting. And that that is not progress. That is opportunism wearing a progressive costume.
Yeah.
Just one of the most devastatingly funny lines. And again, I don't even know if, trust me, there are people in this world who will certainly find something about that to object to.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I mean, that's going back to the idea that, people,
And here is where Cross accidentally proved Maher's point. Even Cross admitted there are people waiting to find something objectionable in any sketch, any line, any joke. That is not an accident. That is the system working as designed. The hunt never ends. And nobody, not even the loyalists, are safe.
Absolutely.
Part of the spectrum.
Well, Jesus fan.
Yeah, and people who think that you're somehow denigrating gay people by doing that, and no, I would get hisses and boos, at progressive, cities and places.
Good. That means you're doing something right.
Yeah, no, I didn't go off crying. I'm just saying,
right.
It's not so cut and dry, And I find that there's the thread through all that is people who their sense of humor gets blocked by emotion, and
correct.
And it's a bummer,
Cross said it himself. The boos came from the progressive cities, not the red states. The same audiences who claimed to be on the side of free expression turned out to be the ones who could not handle a joke. In his view, the issue is not politics. The issue is humorlessness. And humorlessness is the precondition for cancellation.
Oh, I have some of my best shows in the South. I mean, regionally.
As opposed to places where, I've had some great audiences in San Francisco, and I've had some of the though you're too PC, and I'm a bad man.
Yeah, I know.
And so people used to ask me, where do I like to play? I would always say the red states, because I would attract a mostly liberal crowd in a red state.
That admission right there should end the conversation. Two of the most respected comedians in America quietly agreeing that progressive city audiences are the toughest to play. Not because they disagree with the material, because they cannot let themselves laugh without checking with their friends first. That is not an audience. That is a jury.
That too.
I'm glad they're serious, and I'm glad they're doing something that's that is helpful. But and we share this personality trait. It's you make a snarky comment that's funny and pointed, and they don't think it's funny. They don't, and they're also like, hey, that's not cool.
They're a parody of themselves.
Yeah,
they're an eye roll. They're a cliche, because yes, are some things literally not funny? Yes. But we draw the line at a very different place than they do. Mm-hmm. And also, we draw the line at a very different place than we used to, because we certainly used to be able to.
Here's the bigger picture nobody wants to acknowledge. The line keeps moving, and it only moves in one direction. What was funny in 2010 is unacceptable in 2015. What was acceptable in 2015 is fireable in 2020. This is a moving target designed to keep people permanently afraid. Because a self-censoring comedian is a dead comedian, walking around with a microphone, telling jokes he no longer believes in.
They see it as, here's an opportunity for some people to come in second in a I hate racism the most contest, it's not going to be me.
Well, I think
it's a lot about their feelings more than the issue itself and how it makes them feel.
For sure.
Okay, good.
For sure, but I think what I've experienced when I run up against people like that is the thing that they all share is kind of a lack of humor.
Anson, and this is the line that should be on a billboard. The I hate racism the most contest. That single phrase explains the entire architecture of modern cancel culture. It is not about justice. It is about being seen as the most virtuous person in the room. And the easiest way to climb that ranking is to point at someone else and demand they be removed. In Sauber Solder, that is not activism. And the prize is somebody else's career.
You don't have to go that far back when we were all acting differently. And my thing is just like, if you did something that was like 20 years later, they go, oh my God, how dare you? But at the time, no one else gave a shit. You know, you did the sketch, you did whatever, and there was no comment. Then you have to cancel everybody from 20 years ago because everybody just let it.
Let me share something with you. This is the trap. If anything from 20 years ago can be used against you today, then nobody is safe. Everybody has a tweet, a joke, a photograph that violates the rules of a future that has not been written yet. Maher knows this. He has been on the receiving end of soft cancellation for years, and he sat there and explained to a man who got an entire episode pulled from Netflix that yes, this is real, and no, you do not get to pretend otherwise just because you live in Brooklyn. The critics of Maher say he is exaggerating, but here is what those critics miss. The man sitting across from Maher was himself a victim of the very system he was defending. Intas her soul and incumbent soul, and he could not see it. That is not a credibility problem. That is a credibility collapse. When the people being canceled defend the cancelers, the machine has already won. So here is what I want to leave you with. Was David Cross being honest, or was he protecting the very people who came for his own work? Does Bill Maher's argument finally land for you? And do you really believe cancel culture has been accorded more power than it really has? Drop your answers in the comments. Hit that like button. Subscribe so you do not miss the next exchange. And I will see you in the next video.